be able to answer. Well, is there a reason you called us all here together? It's only fair to wait till the speaker arrives for us to begin the meeting. Yeah. Well, come in.
I'm gonna try to reach you again that I messed up last time.
Really missed that money.
Yeah, I got this old Triumph chopper.
Yeah.
It's a kickstart only, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kicking it, and I went to give it a good kick. And kicker, which is 1971, missed the jab, and I just straight to the bottom, and I jammed my knees. I extended it backwards, not totally, but whack! I just fell down to the grass right there. If you're a neighbor watching, you can just fall on the ground laughing. But I'm lucky it didn't hurt too much. Yeah, more at my age.
How old are you? 40,
50, 51.
It's funny how you get to about that age and things that used to, the pain that used to go away in 24 hours, it didn't go away for a couple of weeks. And then if you're my age, it didn't go away for about 6 years.
Oh, I know, it takes a long time for me to heal. I got like bad meniscuses in this knee. Now this knee too, probably. I'll punish myself though, it's all my fault.
Can't do anything delicate.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't grow back.
No, yeah, right, that doesn't even.
Once they start trimming,
I mean, don't lie about that.
I've never even gone in for it, so I count myself lucky.
I thought he was.
I just put up with the minor pain.
Well, usually if they trim it, it's just so it won't split more.
Those were the ancestors in the box.
It's like rounding off a hangnail.
Yeah,
I don't mind doing any of that.
I use 5,000-year-old ashes.
It's pain in this knee. Then when I work out, I'll put on just one of those Velcro knee support things. Just actually just pad. Because it's fine unless I hit that one spot. And then it's just like
Abe over here still talking about how he wants to
stings.
You know what I use?
Yeah.
You get the point, man. For years up here, I used to, in the morning, I'd get these elastic, bandages. I put a couple of rubber knee pads. Not rubber ones, but foam knee pads.
Right.
Wrap that thing on there so it wouldn't come off. I can do it now. I lost some big cuts so much muscle during my surgeries last year.
Lounging.
You got time. How long is there no rush?
Oh, they're still at the club.
So did Abe dump this the same way?
Apparently, before Trump did.
That would explain the time of progress.
I love it. Oh, Abe just went.
Right.
Oh,
What? Right now?
I just assumed because he's tacky.
Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I don't have, I really don't have a track record to go on some of these tackles. Like, never done any tacky.
That woman in the picture that Smilowski shot, I can't believe that she went in and told her people that.
Why would she tell? Why would she? They would have never known it was her. They never would have known anything.
I think there must be some self-confession
No, I think she
component
already
to social
had.
media.
I think she already had the second job. Oh yeah, it's still better enough to win the think tank. I think she already.
2.5%.
Yeah, I think she already had a job.
Is this Smilowski that took
Done
it?
with her job. It was probably staged.
Did you?
She probably said, hey, well, I guess you couldn't. Brandon taking your picture. But I guess you can't really see Brandon taking your picture. Okay, so she took advantage of it. Just Smilowski, Smilowski.
What did Smilowski say? Did he say anything about that?
Showing up to work.
He offered to get her a job. Was he just laughing? Was he laughing?
Wall it up.
Wall it up.
Did he feel bad about it? He's like, oh.
I wouldn't feel 1 ounce
You know,
bad.
I wouldn't feel 1 ounce bad either.
No.
Uh-oh.
Harness being
That's
called
just
one.
Where they did it, they just.
And then they, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's like going over it, but.
It was a good pitch to them. So.
Hey, Caleb. I'm trying to indulge myself on this, but do you think it'll be at least 5 days? Okay.
I thought she was identified with the guy. No.
The only reason she was identified was because she told me about it.
Right, then she lied or fired her, and her Facebook page is not affiliated at all. That's how EPA is. Your Facebook page has to be totally legit, straight up. If that's anything to do with, even if you give your email address on there. Or if you put EPA pictures on there. That's a nice chair.
It's a heavy chair. Is it right here? Cool. Get a little ready for the try. Cool.
Is it? That'd be hilarious. Hey, I need him to be within the next 5 years. I need him to be congressman or senator. He can write me a letter for Jay to get into the Naval Academy. Recognition. No. I got a guy now, but he might not be within, you know.
There's just nothing else to say.
The guy that I was embedded with in Iraq is now congressman.
Oh, the state guy.
In the army. Not really.
Literally so quick.
What? No. Not so sad, no. I didn't see that story. Huh? Oh, yeah. That story, Boehner? That interview with Boehner? He said the guy from Alaska was holding a knife to his throat in an argument over funding for his district. I know, and the guy cut, they called, the guy says, is this true? He goes, yeah, basically that's true. And Boehner just looked at him and goes, he just goes, that was a great interview. Boehner was just,
They're rapping. They're rapping. Thanks for the guidance.
got him for a right here. Yeah. So. Where you going, Scotty?
I'm just gonna watch you rifle.
Wait for Schiller. It's 2 o'clock. Supposedly. If you can believe anything you hear. Which you can't. No.
Serious. I am, well, sometimes I'll
When it's
put
over, she just goes,
vest underneath the jacket. But I switch between video all the time.
no, it's just like, no, it's locked in there.
How's Jim doing? You think he's ready to keep score?
He is.
I don't want to in my little laptop in the middle of the night.
Well, so he's doing it?
Oh, that's.
They're not wait, they're just, you just.
Then I'll just ruin it.
Yeah, the best idea is somebody, you know, the one you were talking about the harness here, you can do it, it's just one.
Right.
When I'm riding with this one, the speaker is going to.
I'm one with my.
Just overnight.
I mean, if you just stay on, if you stay on weekend.
You know, when I'm like running around.
I was with Pete over there, and we were doing a golf tournament. And a golf tournament here. And we're on a golf cart. We're riding along, all of a sudden, we're on the back. All of a sudden, cobblestone. Still worked fine. It was bad. Shot it. The noise. I don't know how it didn't smash me.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Oh, no, that probably worked. Y'all have a very slack tree.
Oh, really?
Do under the tread for preaching. Very, very thoughtful.
I know.
Barely got to
We just this year, the first, like,
How long have you been married?
Well, that's.
this was your first time.
Since having kids, I should say.
First time, 4.5 years.
Yeah. So, we did our 10th anniversary.
I don't want another.
That was just.
Well, you guys weren't married that long before you started.
No, well, no.
Oh, okay.
We, yeah, we both got married when we were 30.
It's almost the same.
Stand down, stand down.
First one at 35, second one at 37.
It's always one of those trips. Especially finding you. Go out and explore. Used to be that time on the
Where did you guys go?
Yeah.
We went to
Holiday.
we went to Copenhagen, which is the happiest country. And I know why. You drive, okay, but you ride the bicycle to the coach. They
Yeah. You guys did.
Well, last, because we went from preschool through college. They drop their kid off at school at 9. They pick their kid up at 3:30. And that's it. Like,
Yeah.
there's like this huge, like, used to be a package.
Yeah, the Poland was
Food
right.
truck
Used to be
inside. And every day at like
10 years ago.
4 o'clock.
Well,
Maybe there, like,
the battery from the printer.
food, like,
You go.
Yes.
And you have full battery.
like,
You charge them. It's not like the little thing that you got. You have to set an alarm.
Oh, yeah.
They don't get charged up.
That's great.
No, it's not great.
The whole trip.
Yeah, you go the whole trip on one battery. Yeah.
they pay the taxes, but they get, there's no homeless thing. If you're homeless, the government gets you a public.
Well, the rest is kind of.
Because you choose to sublet your Right, exactly.
All you do is
Your
put it
Wi-Fi.
under your phone.
Yeah, Wi-Fi.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
People are happy because they don't have to stay in jobs. They hate to for insurance.
Ryan is here, are you? Just.
Yeah, you got
Ryan, you're keeping your mouth shut. Ryan's by himself right now. Foul.
like 9.
Did you get that? Did you get my good side?
I got all your sides.
Thank you. No, she may have something like that. She's Green River.
You'd probably have to be Toby Keith at this point.
I was peeking in and I was like,
That was Vayner's whistle. It was a cool too. That's how you knew he was close. Like in a horror movie, you're going down dark hallways and you hear it all around. You don't know what direction it's coming from.
Fish and nuts for candies and nuts.
Foresight.
Every day would be Christmas.
Be like your veteran wrestler. That's Vayner's music.
Behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, we're the job.
It's not time for people.
Right, exactly. We're the job.
Everyone's like, you gotta feel like fuel.
Hold on. Gotta get the blood. Yeah, blood.
I was trying to test out.
Fish and nuts for candies and nuts.
Yes. The white card.
So it actually really works out.
Talk to us a little bit about small
Double day, yeah.
Finally exploded.
I mean, this thing's
Started talking about the,
I don't have anything more, I don't fucking take it.
get it together.
This is one in Arlington. That's not there. I just thought it was a weird.
There's one in out there. There's one in Old Town.
That looks like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
That's what they used to have. The one in Delaware next to. I'm talking about girls' school.
That's love hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Well,
I've never been there. But I'm like 3 years further. There's always a huge number of girls.
Clever.
Well, I went to one in Delray because it's like,
Really? Was that really cool?
Just ask which precinct it is. Shouldn't be hard to see.
he won't say murder and that's a secret.
Just tell him he can caption information so he can see.
Are you talking about the murder?
Russell's wants to know.
Yeah, well, he was telling me about it this morning.
He's off today, right?
She said no one won't tell me where it is.
Part of the, what? Part of the desk. Part of the job. Part of the job.
Yeah, how do you usually think about stuff like this?
Well, in your school, you know, some of them are so boring. Some of them are just Copying your son now.
4 houses down the street, she saw somebody in
Copying his son.
went after them.
How old was he? Did she ever go after that?
Chip.
Yeah.
Chip. What?
They're gonna use
They're gonna use that ramp.
Oh, you're right.
Here they come.
Chip, there's a chair there if you need to use it.
Heads up.
Morning, guys.
All right. We're also saddened by the shooting at the church on Sunday in Sutherland Springs, Texas. My hope and prayer is for healing, and that each one of us will be a part of the healing that needs to take place in this country. And part of giving people hope is the hope that comes from an opportunity for a better life. And that's what each of us as representatives seek to do each day in Congress. For us, as Republicans, we're very excited about tax relief and what that means for everyone and giving them hope for an opportunity for a better life. This is must-pass legislation that is going to fundamentally help everyone in this country, the little guy who feels like they're being left behind, families who are seeking the opportunity to get ahead. An extra $1,182 for middle-income families could mean the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and having the financial security and peace of mind. And that's why we're pleased to have Texas Representative Jody Arrington with us today to share a little bit more about his perspective. I've also had the chance to travel a little bit over the last couple of weeks holding tax reform forums. And yesterday morning, I was in Pennsylvania and reminded once again as to the hope that people have because of the potential of tax relief. A school teacher, Chris, he's a father of 5, who was there to say, you know what, I'm really excited about what this means for my family. Tom, who owns a local wire shop, and other small business owners talking about wanting to give their employees a higher wage, but because of the tax burden, the healthcare burden, it's so hard to do that. And just a couple of weeks ago, I heard from Kenya, a black entrepreneur who said, I quote, "I have big dreams and I choose America to be the place where I live, where I raise my family, and where these dreams would become a reality. But we need help to give back to America what America has given us." These are the faces of tax reform. These are the stories that we want, that we're telling. And I was reminded yesterday that the shortest distance between two people is their story. Also, we're working on important legislation this week to help our veterans, over a dozen bills. Saturday is Veterans Day, but really every day should be Veterans Day. And I'm reminded that both being married to Brian, who's a retiree from the Navy, but also proud to represent Fairchild Air Force Base, and really humbled to stand by those who have served our country. We are the home of the free because of the brave, and we thank them every day for their service.
Good morning. My name is Jody Arrington. I represent District 19 in Texas. Thank you, Madam Chair, and leadership for this opportunity to share my thoughts and my heart. First, I want my fellow Texans in Sutherland Springs to know that our hearts are heavy for them, and that we're grieving with them, and that we're praying for their community. We're praying for First Baptist Church, and we're praying for all the families that were involved in this tragedy. I grew up in a small faith-based community in Texas, and I can tell you this: evil will not have the last word in Sutherland Springs, and darkness will not overcome their light. Now, as we lead up to Veterans Day, the best way we can honor our veterans is to deliver on our promises to these great heroes, and that's exactly what we've done in the House. We've passed 28 veterans-related bills out of the chamber. 8 bills have become law. We have improved access to health care by giving our veterans more choice in their health care decisions. We have enhanced educational opportunities through the new GI Bill, and we've increased accountability, transparency, and efficiency so the VA will not serve themselves but the customer, which is our veterans. I'm excited to be a part of this historic opportunity on tax reform. And tax reform in West Texas and in rural America is about giving our working class and middle class families a break and allowing them to keep more of their hard-earned money. It's about getting off the backs of our job creators, which are our small businesses, and let them create more and better jobs for their communities. It's about giving our farmers, our family farmers and ranchers, a reason to invest in new tractors and combines and cotton strippers so they can do what they've been doing since the beginning of this great country, and that's feeding and clothing the American people, and be more productive at that. And then at the end of the day, when they pass that family farm down to the next generation, we don't want their kids to have to sell the family farm or ranch just to pay the taxes. It's great to be with you guys, and God bless America.
My prayers remain with the people of Sutherland Springs. Of course, all those who lost their lives, but also the ones who are fighting right now through injuries and the families that are grieving. I know what they're going through, and I know how important the power of prayer is and how important it is for them to know that all of us are lifting them up in our prayers during this difficult time. As we look towards Veterans Day, we're passing some really important legislation this week to stand up for our veterans. And Jody Arrington just talked about the importance of the legislation he's bringing forward, as well as other members, to make sure that we continue to stand up for our veterans and make sure that government is working for them in their time of need. Something else that's happening this week is tax reform. Chairman Brady and the Ways and Means Committee are busy at work right now, working to make sure that we provide tax cuts for families all across this country and create good jobs. The Tax Foundation just came out yesterday with a new study on our bill that shows that nearly 1 million jobs will be created by this bill, as well as once it's implemented, working families will see on average $2,500 more money in their pockets. Look, the American people deserve tax relief. People who have been working hard in a struggling economy have been looking towards this kind of action by Congress to make sure that we're going to put more money in their paychecks. They're going to spend their money a lot better than government will, and it's important that they get to keep more of their hard-earned dollars. And under our bill, every income range will see a tax cut and the jobs that will be created. And another important benefit, we are so tired of seeing jobs move overseas. We've seen companies move thousands and thousands of high-paying jobs to other countries just because we have the highest corporate tax rate in the world, in the industrialized world. There's no reason for that to happen. Under our bill, we finally get to bring those jobs back. And we're talking tens of thousands of really good high-paying jobs. This is the best way we can rebuild our middle class. So the Tax Cuts and Jobs bill is critically important to this economy, critically important to working families all across the country. And it's great that we're finally moving forward and taking action to provide tax relief for families across the country.
We are united around our neighbors in Sutherland Springs. We are united in prayer to those families who felt an unimaginable loss. We should unite as one nation to help resolve, to make sure one community against this hate and evil. To wake up on a Sunday, to know that you're going to go share your faith, to have this hate and evil move forward. It is a place that, as Jody says, the light needs to be shown, that as Steve talks, we continue to be there with the families as they come off this tragic loss. Inside the movement this week in the floor, a lot of it we're talking about tax reform. You hear the markups in the committees. The challenge to the American public is, what is the truth about this bill? You look at a tax policy center that has to come out today and say they have to have new analysis. I hope this time they read the bill before they put analysis out. Or if I read the tweets from my own senator from California, not did she just receive one Pinocchio, no, not even two, and not even three, but 4 Pinocchios, the most you can, in their portrayal of really what this bill does. So I think what's most important is we should state the facts. For your average family in America, married couple with 2 kids, they will pay no tax on the first $55,000 they earn. They will save more than $1,182. That is a tax cut. But it's only in Washington that thinks almost $1,200 is not a lot of money to a family that's struggling. And it's not just this year they'll save the next year and the next year and the next. As we look going forward, how do we create more jobs? A lot of studies out there on what to make America competitive again. I was in the Oval Office last week. Sat and listened to a CEO that got to come to America, become a citizen, and he said he wanted to give back. He got together, they created a company with some of the best minds from others, from Bell Labs and others, and they created Broadcom. And they did well in America. But as the tax code kept creeping up, they found they could not be competitive in the rest of the world. So you know what their decision was? Was to leave America. Not because they wanted to, because the tax code pushed them out. So they went to Singapore. As I spoke with them in the last couple months, talking about our tax bill, they came to me and said, if this passes, we're going to come back. So they stood inside the Oval Office. They looked at the president. They said, based upon what you've done from the regulatory community and based upon what's going to happen with this tax bill, we're going to come back to America. Now, what does that mean? It's not a study. It's $12 billion in revenue back into America. And what do they do with that money? They spend $3 billion every year on R&D. They spend $6 billion every year on manufacturing. Those are the jobs we're talking about. That's the America that we dream of. We know of her greatness. We know of her ability to compete. We just need to give them the opportunity to make that happen. I don't believe this will be the only story. I believe this will be one of many stories. Ways and Means will finish up the markup this week, and we'll bring the bill to the floor after the markup is done. That's not the only thing that we're doing this week. We know a Veterans Day is coming. More than 15 bills, bipartisan, are going to pass this floor. I want to remind America of what we've worked on because it really says a lot about the moral and character of a country of how they treat their veterans. Earlier this year, no longer is a GI Bill only 15 years or you lose it. It's now you got a lifetime to use it. How we treat our veterans going forward, when you look at the number of bills moving this week, our Gold Star families still the access to come back. That's a bill by General Don Bacon. It says a lot about America and about our future, about what we're passing on the floor this week and the opportunity of what's to come.
You know, I first want to express my deep sorrow for the people of Sutherland Springs. I think Jody said it extremely well. There should be no more safe place from the evils of the outside world than a place of worship. So we pray for these victims and their families, and yes, we do pray. I also want to commend the men who pursued the shooter. These men put themselves in harm's way to stop a killer. These people are heroes. They put their lives on the line for their neighbors, and we're gratified for what they did. Of course, as was mentioned this week, we celebrate Veterans Day. As you heard, just yesterday we passed a host of bills to improve access to care for those who served our country. I want to thank Jody Arrington. I want to thank the folks on the Veterans Affairs Committee for their work on this and for being here this morning. Now, last week was a big one in the House. Last week, we released the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The plan to deliver more jobs, fairer taxes, and bigger paychecks to working people and families in America. You know what the number that's huge for this one? $1,182. The average tax cut for an average household with 2 kids is $1,182. You got to remember, half the countries live in paycheck to paycheck, and a whole bunch of other people in this country are 1 paycheck away from living paycheck to paycheck. $1,182 for that average family, that goes a long ways to bring them relief, to bring them peace of mind. That's how much the typical American household is going to save under this plan. That's a tax cut that makes a big difference in their lives. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is also about jobs. Factoring the bill's impact on growth in the economy, the Tax Foundation put out an estimate that says this plan will create nearly 1 million new full-time jobs. Nearly 1 million new full-time jobs and raise incomes by over $2,500 over a decade. That brings hope to people in this country. That brings bigger paychecks, more take-home pay, more jobs, faster economic growth. That's how we empower people and create opportunity. The Ways and Means Committee is marking this up as it goes. This has been a long time in making. I'm very excited about it, and I can't wait to get this done because we know that this is the kind of relief that people need. The Joint Tax Committee says it's a tax cut for everybody across the board, but most importantly, we know it levels a playing field for American job creators so they stay here. It levels a playing field for our businesses so they don't ship jobs overseas anymore. And it gives hardworking taxpayers in the middle the kind of relief that they need to get ahead, the peace of mind they need so they can plan. That's why we're excited about this moment. That's why we're excited the Ways and Means Committee is doing a great job of getting it through their committee this week. Questions? Erica.
Mr. Speaker, do you agree with the administration's decision to end temporary status for Nicaraguans in this country?
I'd have to get back on you. I haven't looked at it. 2015, yeah.
You promised a more open process, and my understanding is last night the Rules Committee broke the record for the most closed rules on the floor in a session, and also that you have not yet had a open rule yet on the floor. Do you feel like this is an open process, and if not, what would you say?
Yeah, we're doing, absolutely, we have an open process. We're going through the committee process. All these bills are written by the committee. But we also don't want to have amendments that are designed to try and stop this process. There are a lot of dilatory tactics that people on the other side of the aisle are trying to employ to basically stop Congress from advancing. And we're not going to entertain dilatory tactics, but we're going to give the members the kind of space they need to craft their legislation. But most importantly, these bills are being written in the committee.
You had more bills passed the committee in the first term.
That's right. More bills have passed through the committee in this Congress in the first 10 months of this administration than Clinton, Obama, and both Bushes. Soybean. Well, first off, as you know, that they say that macroeconomic feedback means we're going to have more revenues than the static score shows. So they're showing a big static score feedback. They're showing higher wages, more jobs, higher wages across the board on all income levels, more jobs, about 1 million new jobs. But what we showed with our budget reconciliation instructions that we have a $1.5 trillion cushion. We believe that we're going to be fine on that. We believe that when you look at other analysis, whether it's going to be Treasury or the rest, that we're right there in the sweet spot with economic growth that gives us more revenue. We're where we need to be. The key is economic growth. We have not had a 3% economy in about a decade. You can't solve the kinds of problems we need to solve in America unless we get real economic growth going to like 3%, which we think we can achieve with tax reform and regulatory relief. Wong.
It's clear that the mental health illness laws that Congress has passed have not stopped these types of mass shootings that we saw in Texas over the weekend. You've said your goal or gun reform laws that's not the answer. What other ideas do you have?
Well, I haven't said that, but look.
What other ideas do you have to stop?
How about enforcing the laws we got on the books? This man should not have gotten a gun. You know why? Because he was a domestic abuser. We have laws in the books that says if you're a domestic abuser, you're not supposed to own a gun. He was a domestic abuser. That's why we got all these questions with the Air Force right now, which is how did this get slipped through the cracks? How is it that this person who was convicted of domestic abuse by the Air Force, how did he get through the system and get a gun? Because the laws we have right now on the books say a person like this should not have gotten a gun. So this speaks to making sure that we actually enforce our laws that we have in the books. And then that's why we have questions with the Air Force about how is it that this person left the Air Force after he was in jail for a year, I think. How did he get slipped through the cracks, and what has to be done to make sure that we are actually enforcing these laws on the books, because this man should not have had a gun in the first place. Thank you.